So we're on our informational writing for Unit 3, and our objectives for today is we're not going to be doing our writing, but we're going to be looking at a basically perfect essay. So we're going to be reading and analyzing an informative report. We're going to be able to write about the features of an informative report, so what makes it a good report or not, and then we're going to be sharing our ideas about this writing. So remember, in an informational text like we just read about a free lunch with John Burroughs, he describes his observation of the birds. In this unit, we're going to have the opportunity to write an informative report about an animal. So an informative report provides facts and details about something, such as an animal, a person, a place, or thing. When I write my report about an animal, I describe how it looks, where it lives, and how it behaves. So these are going to be some things that we're going to be focusing on for writing. It's going to be talking about how an animal looks, how it behaves, and how it lives. First, I'm going to show you what a model looks like. I'm going to show you how to write an informative essay about woodpeckers. So I have this prompt right over here. Then I have my essay that we're going to look at. So this is what I have for basically my question. Based on the information from A Bird's Free Lunch and The World of Woodpeckers, which we haven't read yet, write an informative report in which you describe the appearance and behavior of woodpeckers. Support your ideas with facts and details from the text and video. So we're going to watch that video later on, so some of it might not be familiar to you. But we do know from The World of Woodpeckers some information that we have. So what do I have first? When I write my report, I'm going to be focusing on that looks, lives, and behaviors. You guys, when we do our writing starting next week, you guys are going to be writing about chipmunks. But we're going to look at this woodpecker model to see exactly what it should look like. This prompt asks me to do what? It asks me to describe the appearance and behavior of woodpeckers. I'm going to write a report that describes what woodpeckers look like and some things that they do. The prompt tells me that I need to include facts and details that I'll learn from a text and a video. So this is my mentor text that I'm going to read for us over on the left. And I titled it Woodpeckers, Talented Birds. So this is an example of what we might have written as a response to this prompt. Remember, again, we haven't seen the video yet, so some of the stuff we might not be familiar with. The woodpecker is a type of bird that lives in the forests of North America. Its head has some red coloring, and its soft body feathers can be black, white, or brown. It spends its time hunting for insects and pecking on the trunks of trees. The woodpecker's most typical feature is its long, pointed beak. The woodpecker uses that beak to hammer away at tree bark. It is looking for insects, which are its food. According to the video, The World of Woodpeckers, sometimes woodpeckers eat seeds, berries, or suet, but they love to feast on insects. Woodpeckers are not the only birds that peck to get food. Jays do as well, but as John Burroughs describes in A Bird's Free Lunch, jays use most of their bodies for pecking. Woodpeckers, on the other hand, use only their heads. However, the jay is still not as powerful as the woodpecker. Burroughs writes, yet his blows are softer, not so sharp and abrupt as those of the woodpecker. Pecking is not exactly his business. Woodpeckers are special. Other birds can be beautiful and act in interesting ways, but woodpeckers have an amazing talent for pecking. They show that, just like people, animals have a variety of skills that make them different from one another. Now, as we read this, maybe you noticed some things that make it an informative piece. One of the things that I hope you notice is that we identify and we introduce the topic. So we know, let me get that drawing. Let's see. Maybe now it'll work? Maybe not. Right away what the topic is. We identify it and we introduce it. What's our topic? Well, our topic is about woodpeckers. So we know the rest of this is going to be talking about that. Now, we also noticed that there's some information that's being presented. We're given facts and details about this topic. So our facts and details, there's so many of them. We have where it lives, we have its head coloring, we have its feathers are black, white, and brown. Notice it doesn't just stop in that first paragraph, but we continue. We talk about its long beak. We talk about how it uses that beak to hammer away at tree bark, how it looks for insects. So basically my whole entire essay, this whole entire paragraph, is focusing on information about woodpeckers. Now, when we get down here to this paragraph, it does do a little bit of a change because we then start talking about the blue jay, but notice how we still talk about the woodpecker. So we're comparing it to the blue jay, but we're also still talking about that woodpecker, how it only uses its head, how it's powerful. So remember, when we're doing our writing, we're going to provide facts and details about it. Now this next one is kind of a key important part. It's called using a third person point of view. What that means is we're not saying the word I in there. We're talking about another creature. So we're going to use the word it, or they, or she, or the. We're not going to say I because we're not that woodpecker. And we're not going to say I because it's not a story. So notice throughout this whole entire thing, we're using the third person to talk about woodpeckers. Now this next part is important because this is probably the part that we're going to struggle with the most as writers for this new unit. We group similar information together. So notice how this first paragraph, it does what? It's kind of focusing on what it looks like. Because if you remember at the very beginning, we say we want to talk about what it looks like and where it lives. This next paragraph, you'll notice, is talking about how it gets its food. So true, it does talk about what it looks like with the beak, but it's talking about that beak in relationship to what? How it gets food. So our information is still grouped together. This third paragraph right here is talking about what? Well, it's actually being a comparison. So I'm going to have to make it look not very nice, because I'm just not the best writer with this. But it's comparing that woodpecker to a blue jay. And then this last portion is just a summary. It's kind of reminding the reader about how they are special, how they are unique. So notice we're grouping that information together. How they look is its own paragraph compared to how it gets its food. Now the last feature that you'll notice is one that I think you guys are going to do pretty well on. It's our conclusion. So it's reminding the reader about what they just read. It's leaving the reader thinking. So it's reminding the reader that woodpeckers are special and that even though they're different from other animals, they're still unique, that they have these amazing talents. So my conclusion is reminding the reader of, hey, you just got all these facts, and I want you to remember that this woodpecker is special. It's unique. It's one of a kind. It's interesting. So that's the purpose of a conclusion for an informative essay or an informative writing, is to leave the reader thinking about what you just shared with them. So I hope you guys will take this, and when we do our writing next week, you'll be ready to share it in your own way about a chipmunk.